Hello, my dear. Listen closely. People are acting like you're some unsolved event. The kind that urban legends form around. You walk past a group, and they turn into commentators analyzing footage. Did you see the way he moved today? Did you hear what she said yesterday? What do you think is really going on with them? Every person suddenly transforms into a theorist, an investigator, or a spokesperson, and the funniest part, all of them swear they're the only ones who truly understand you. But the moment another person speaks, the clash begins because nobody can agree. Nobody can land on a single explanation. You're too layered, too unpredictable, too damn unboxed. They're used to simple categories, easy profiles, clear definitions, but you show up with contradictions. They can't decode, confidence they can't measure, and energy they can't prepare for. That's when the real chaos starts, when humans meet something they can't label. The streets aren't calm anymore. Your name alone triggers full-blown arguments, real arguments, not whispers, not passive comments, no heated, chest-tight debates where people raise their voices, step forward, and try to claim ownership of a narrative that doesn't even belong to them. You became an issue, a topic, a headline, a territory. People who don't even speak to each other suddenly unite to talk about you. People who used to be close now split into factions because of you, and all you did was exist. That's the part that terrifies them the most. You didn't need a viral scandal. You didn't need a dramatic scene. The energy around you grew so loud that the world constructed a storyline from thin air, and now they're fighting tooth and nail to defend whatever version they believe is true. The first faction is the believers. These are the ones who swear you're not normal. They don't mean it as an insult. They mean you carry something that doesn't match the environment. They talk about your intuition like it's prophetic. They break down your decisions like scripture. They study your patterns like doctrine. They see you walk in with quiet focus and interpret it like a sign, like a message. They swear you're different because their instincts tell them so. And instincts don't lie when they're this consistent. These people treat you like a revelation, something that arrived without introduction, but was instantly recognized. They don't say it loudly, but they see you as a leader without the title, a force without the announcement, a signal without the broadcast. You've met them before. The ones who watch you from across the room with respect in their eyes, as if they know something others don't. Then you have the skeptics, the ones who reject anything they can't mentally dominate. These are the people who hate ambiguity, and nothing frustrates them more than someone they can't fully understand, predict, or control. They don't like the idea of someone walking around with a presence strong enough to shake rooms without effort. So they fight the believers. They argue. They form counter-theories. They try to paint you as just like everyone else, not because they believe it, but because they can't handle the possibility that they're wrong. Skeptics aren't dangerous because of their doubt. They're dangerous because of their insecurity. The more they fail to interpret you, the louder they get, the more desperate they seem. Desperation turns into aggression, and aggression turns into obsession, and that's how factions form. You didn't create a following. A following created itself around you. It wasn't a fan club. It was something closer to a movement. People started choosing sides. Some defended you like you were a symbol of something bigger. Others opposed you, like you represented a threat to whatever illusion they were clinging to. You became the line that divided people's comfort zones. On one side were the ones who felt awakened by your presence. On the other, the ones who felt threatened by what you represented, not because you said anything wrong, but because you reminded them of everything they weren't. When something challenges identity, people scramble to protect their pride, and suddenly debates about you turned into debates about values, beliefs, lifestyles, motivations, morality. People weren't really arguing about you. They were arguing about themselves, using you as the mirror. That's why the reactions were so intense. That's why the arguments about you escalated faster than debates about religion and politics combined. You weren't just a person. You were a dividing line in their psychology. And when a person becomes a dividing line, the street becomes a battlefield. Your walk became a parade route that people lined themselves along just to get a glimpse, to feel something, to take mental notes, to form judgments. Every step you took, someone interpreted. Every word you spoke, someone dissected. Every decision you made, someone turned into evidence. This is what happens when someone refuses to fit into the templates people are taught to follow. You become unpredictable, and unpredictable people scare those who rely on predictability to feel secure. But the chaos didn't stop there. The more they discussed you, the more meaning they attached to you. The more meaning they attached, the more intense the obsession became. Believers started calling you the one who sees what others miss. Skeptics started calling you the one people overestimate, and the one stuck in the middle. They got dragged into the noise, forced to pick a side, because neutrality became impossible. Nobody can stay neutral when the topic is you. There's too much emotion involved. You trigger something they can't suppress. Their fascination isn't casual, it's compulsive. Every street has a story, but this one has a legend in progress, a living contradiction, a walking phenomenon. Someone who makes even the most confident people question themselves. You don't need to speak to affect them. You don't need to act to provoke them. You just have to walk by. That's enough to shift the atmosphere. And the moment that happens, everyone becomes an expert, an analyst, a spokesperson. Everyone feels compelled to take a position, to defend a narrative, to interpret your identity like it's a holy text or a political manifesto. It's not normal behavior. It's fixation. Pure, unfiltered fixation. Some streets celebrate celebrities. Some streets celebrate power. But your street? It reacts to you. They say your name like it carries weight. They observe you like you're unpredictable. They debate you like you're controversial. They follow you like you're irreplaceable. And the more people fight over you, the more you become something beyond their understanding, something they can't predict, something they can't manipulate, something they can't reduce. At some point, the chaos becomes larger than the street it spreads. It leaks into conversations that happen far away from you. People start discussing you with others who've never seen you in person. Stories spread, narratives mutate, and suddenly your name appears in places you've never set foot in. That's when the cult-level obsession kicks in. People start forming beliefs around you. Stories become doctrine. Opinions become scripture. Human reactions crystallize into something ritualistic. You become the spark that creates a belief system. Your presence becomes their argument. Your mystery becomes their sacred text. And your unpredictability becomes their source of fear or inspiration. The more they project onto you, the more they reveal about themselves. And as the street keeps dividing, arguing, believing, rejecting, shouting, defending, attacking. Something inside you stays unchanged, calm, unbothered, detached. You didn't create the friction around you. You didn't feed the energy. You didn't stir the pot. People saw something they couldn't define, and instead of admitting confusion, they created chaos. Humans don't like what they can't categorize. They prefer violence over confusion, arguments over uncertainty, division over ambiguity. And you walked right into their blind spot, the place where identity ends and instinct takes over. That's why they fight harder over you than religion. That's why they argue louder about you than politics. That's why they get emotional at the mere mention of you. Because deep down, they know you represent something they can't replace, something they can't replicate, something they can't access. And what they can't access, they try to control. What they can't control, they try to label. What they can't label, they try to argue about. What they can't argue into submission. They try to turn into a narrative. What they can't narrate becomes a threat. But a threat to what exactly? To the versions of themselves they cling to the illusions that kept them comfortable, to the hierarchy that was already crumbling the moment you showed up. This is no longer about you. This is about them, and the chaos they created trying to understand you is now swallowing them whole. Because when people can't categorize someone, they attempt to regulate the narrative instead. And when they fail to regulate it, they resort to division. You're the dividing line in their world now. Not a person, not a presence, but a pressure point. The kind that exposes who people truly are under all their coping masks and social armor. The kind that forces them to choose a stance. The kind that forces a reaction they can't soften or disguise. You've seen it with your own eyes. People who were cool with each other for years now ripping each other apart over how they interpret you. And the conversation isn't even about truth anymore. It's about territory. Whose interpretation wins, whose belief stands, whose pride stays intact. When you become a topic hotter than political seasons and religious disputes, you know something bigger is happening. Something primal, something foundational. You're not standing in their world. Their world is orbiting you, shifting because of you, cracking where you step. They're not protecting opinions. They're protecting their identity structures. Because accepting you as you are requires admitting their limitations, admitting their ego fractures, admitting their worldview isn't comprehensive, and humans will fight to the death before accepting that. Look around. The neighborhood that once mindlessly scrolled through their days is now in full-scale ideological warfare. One group claims you're a genius hiding in plain sight. Another claims you're strategically mysterious. Another swears you're manipulative and playing chess with everyone. Another defends you, like you're the only real one left in a world full of masks. And each of these groups believes they're right. That's all it takes for chaos to erupt. Conflict doesn't require weapons. It only requires a belief people are willing to defend with emotion. And you've become their emotion. It's not admiration that causes this. It's not hate. It's not even envy. It's something far deeper. Influence without permission. You never asked to influence them, but your existence created a ripple that forced their internal boundaries to collapse. Some people love you for that. Some resent you. Some fear you. And some want to own the official narrative about you. Like they discovered you first, understood you best, or decoded you more accurately. That's why they argue like scholars defending sacred texts. They're not defending facts. They're defending their version of you. Every street corner conversation has turned into a makeshift press conference. People are giving speeches like you're a political candidate who announced a revolution. They speak with confidence they didn't earn, as if they have first-hand knowledge of your inner world. The more they debate, the more extreme the interpretations get. People are comparing you to figures they once idolized or feared. They're weighing your impact against cultural giants. They're turning your existence into a phenomenon larger than the street you walk on. And when everyday people start adopting the behavior of commentators, strategists, and religious leaders, you know the obsession has reached a tipping point. They aren't fighting over what you did. They're fighting over what you represent. To one side, you're their proof of resilience. To another, you're the warning sign they ignored. To another, you're the disruptor of comfort. To another, you're the reminder that real confidence doesn't need permission to exist. You've become their symbol, and symbols never remain neutral. Watch how they react when your name comes up. Their posture shifts, their tone sharpens, their eyes narrow with urgency. It's the same energy people get when talking about elections or doctrine, except this time, the battlefield is not a nation or a belief system, it's you. And that's what terrifies them the most. They're not fighting over an ideology, they're fighting over a human being they can't predict or control. The more emotionally charged the debates become, the more the street transforms into something else. A living arena, a tension zone, people walking past each other with unresolved opinions simmering behind their eyes. Conversations ending abruptly because someone disagrees about what you really are. People distancing themselves from certain crowds because those crowds don't understand you the way they think they do. It's social restructuring in real time, caused by one person who never asked to be the catalyst. This is how cult-level obsession begins without ever announcing itself. People start adopting rituals around observing you, waiting to see your next move, predicting what you'll do next, analyzing your behavior like a schedule. They're not admiring you, they're studying you. And that's when the stakes rise. Because studying becomes comparing. Comparing becomes scrutinizing. Scrutinizing becomes projecting. Projecting becomes defending. And defending becomes conflict. Your steps become headlines. Your silence becomes a message. Your presence becomes a stance. They think they're interpreting you, but in truth, they're exposing themselves. The more they try to define you, the more they reveal their fears, their insecurities, their hidden desires, their suppressed truths. They're not really asking, "Who are you?" They're asking, "Why can't I be as free as you?" They're asking, "Why does your existence challenge my comfort?" They're asking, "Why am I so threatened by someone who never targeted me?" That's why the debates get so explosive. You are the catalyst that awakens something inside them, something raw, something uncomfortable, something that forces them to question the parts of themselves they'd rather avoid. And instead of confronting that internal discomfort, they aim their energy at you. It's easier to turn you into a topic than deal with their reflection. But there's another level to this, a hidden layer beneath the street. Chaos and ideological wars some people aren't fighting because they misunderstand you. They're fighting because they think you belong to them. They think they discovered you first. They think they interpreted you correctly. They think they know your story better than anyone else, and that gives them a sense of ownership. Yes, ownership. That's how obsession works when it grows unregulated. People claim emotional territory over someone they don't control. And when ownership collides with perception, obsession transforms into extremism. Now you've got people defending you like you're a revolutionary leader, others condemning you like you're an unpredictable variable in their structured world. Some use your name as a shield, others as ammunition. Some speak of you with reverence, others speak of you with frustration. But all of them speak of you with intensity. That's the key. Nobody talks about you casually anymore. There's always heat in the tone, always tension in the air, always a spark behind the words. That's how you know you've gone beyond being discussed. You've entered the realm of being disputed. People dispute what they fear they can't control. People dispute what they secretly admire but refuse to acknowledge. People dispute what they can't categorize without feeling exposed. People dispute symbols, not individuals. You didn't choose to be a symbol, but the moment they turned you into one, the street changed forever. Your name travels faster than common sense. Your actions get magnified without reason. Your presence becomes a checkpoint in their identity debate. You didn't ask to be the spark, but now you're the wildfire. Everywhere you go, energy shifts. Crowds split, eyes sharpen, conversations intensify. You've become the modern version of a controversial chapter people keep rereading, each trying to find a different interpretation. And here's the truth they don't want to admit. They're not fighting because they disagree about you. They're fighting because each of them wishes they had your level of internal clarity, your level of direction, your level of unshakable self-awareness. You're not complicated, you're consistent. They're not confused, they're exposed. You didn't provoke chaos, you revealed it. You didn't divide them, you uncovered the cracks that were always there. You didn't create factions, you just showed them who belonged where, and now their reactions are too far gone. The arguments too loud, the emotional investment too deep, the debates too public. People don't back down from something this big, not when pride is involved, not when identity is at stake, not when belief becomes currency. You've become their ideological battlefield, and every person who speaks your name chooses a side, whether they admit it or not. This is why they're fighting harder over you than politics and religion combined. Those topics are about the world. You are about them. You hit where their ego lives. You challenge the parts they hide. You expose the insecurity under their confidence. You awaken the fear under their certainty. They're not angry at you. They're angry at what you represent. And now the chaos they created to explain you is about to become the proof they desperately hoped to avoid. Because when people fight over someone this intensely, it never stays intellectual. It becomes emotional warfare. And emotional warfare always leads to consequences. You've already seen the shift. Those debates about you aren't debates anymore. They're confessions disguised as opinions. Every argument they make about you exposes another layer of what they lack. Every theory they build reveals another insecurity. Every defensive claim they push shows how deeply you've gotten under their skin without trying. The street isn't just divided now. It's split into territories. You walk through, and each side reacts differently. Some straighten up, like they're in the presence of someone who outranks their environment. Some pull back, like your presence exposes an inner weakness they didn't know was visible. Some pretend they don't notice you, but their shoulders tense, their breathing shifts, their eyes betray them before their mouth does. And then you have the bold ones, the ones who pretend to be unaffected but can't help stealing glances. studying your movements like they're trying to decode a message written in human form. Your existence has done what ideology could never do. It has forced people to see themselves. And humans hate mirrors more than enemies. Enemies challenge them. Mirrors expose them. That's why their reactions toward you escalate faster than any political dispute they've ever had. Politics gives them distance. Religion gives them doctrine. But you give them confrontation. Raw, unfiltered, unavoidable. And now, the chaos has grown so loud, so widespread, that it's not even local anymore. Your case spreads into places that have never seen you, never spoken to you, never met you. Yet they've formed opinions like they witnessed you firsthand. This is what happens when someone becomes a narrative. You've become their symbol, their dividing line, their reference point. People are quoting things about you that you never said. Stories pop up about situations you weren't even present in. People swear you acted this way or did that thing, even though none of it ever happened. Because at this point, facts don't matter anymore. What matters is the version of you they picked to defend, the version of you they need to believe in, the version of you that makes sense to their wounded pride. And now the believers and skeptics have both become extreme. Believers defend you like you're a secret prophet walking among them. Skeptics attack you like you're a threat to their credibility. Those in the middle, they've been dragged away. Neutrality died the moment your influence hit the street. You've become a psychological battleground, nothing less. And the battleground is evolving. You can feel it. People who once whispered now speak loudly. People who once analyzed quietly now argue openly. People who once doubted you now have no choice but to admit something changed when you appeared. Because now the question isn't, who are you? The question is, why does your presence affect people this deeply? You've noticed the shift. They don't accidentally argue anymore. They intentionally prepare their arguments before walking into conversations about you. They rehearse the points they'll make. They practice the tone they'll use. They even gather evidence to support the version of you they want to defend. It's no longer speculation. It's doctrine building. The way religious debates escalate across generations, that's how fast conversations about you mutate now. Some swear you're chosen. Some swear you're calculating. Some swear you're dangerous. Some swear you're the wake-up call they needed. And none of these groups are willing to back down. You've triggered the deepest human instinct, the need to belong to a side. Humans don't survive uncertainty well. They prefer picking a belief, even if it's wrong, over admitting confusion. And since no one can fully define you, they choose the version that reflects their internal wounds or internal hopes. This is why people who barely know you defend you with their chest, because they see in you a strength they've been starving for. This is why others attack you relentlessly, because you represent everything they failed to become. This is why the neutral ones disappeared, because your existence is too emotionally intense for neutrality to exist around you. Everyone has now picked a position, and once positions are chosen, the war becomes irreversible. You are now the topic nobody can touch without getting burned. Even the skeptics who denied your impact now accidentally confirm it every time they open their mouth. Their disagreements are filled with emotional spikes. Their arguments are too defensive. Their reactions too charged. You don't argue with someone you don't care about. You don't study someone who doesn't matter. You don't obsess over someone unless they reveal something inside you that you're unwilling to face. You've become the mirror they cannot escape. And mirrors that expose truth are treated like threats. Some streets have legends. Some streets have fear. Some streets have stories. Your street has you. The one person creating psychological earthquakes just by walking through the environment. People aren't reacting to you. They're reacting to what rises inside them because of you. And that realization? It's about to send everything into the next level of chaos. The level where opinions turn into consequences, and consequences turn into transformation. Because when people lose control over a narrative, they panic. And the panic around you is new, fresh, and embarrassing. They can't hide it anymore. They're past arguing about you. Now they're fighting to protect their pride from the impact you left. And that's where the final shift begins. Not in them, but in what you symbolize. Because now the war isn't about perception, it's about truth. And the truth is about to break them open. The loudest voices turn strangely quiet, not because they've found peace, but because they don't know what to do with the weight of their own reactions. People who once barked out opinions now carry a stiffness in their shoulders, as if they're replaying every word they said and realizing how off-target they were. A few of them try to walk around like nothing happened, avoiding eye contact with anyone who might remember how aggressively they argued. Others develop this restless curiosity, glancing at you from a distance without the confidence they once swung like a weapon. There are those who suddenly edit their memory, acting like they never took a stance at all, wiping away their past reactions as if the street didn't hear them shouting your name with full conviction. And then there are the ones who move differently now, heavier, almost uneasy, because the truth didn't just prove them wrong, it exposed their triggers. Their pride can't handle how loudly they revealed themselves while trying to decode you. A few people attempt to reapproach the topic with softened tones, like they're testing the ground before stepping on it. Their voices drop, their words become careful. Their attitude shifts into something that looks almost human for the first time. Not fear, recognition. They finally realize the conversation should have never been about ownership or interpretation, and that realization bruises their ego in a way no external conflict ever could. Others don't return to the discussion at all. They avoid it like a mirror, like a photo they're not ready to look at. They carry the tension in small ways, tightened jaws, shorter sentences, the inability to stay in the same room when your name comes up. They're not avoiding you. They're avoiding the version of themselves they became because of you. The factions that once shouted their perspectives are now scattered in their own private corners, dealing with the aftermath of seeing themselves clearly. The believers, once dramatic in their praise, start noticing how unnecessary their theatrics were. The doubters, now forced to face their own motives, struggle with the embarrassment of realizing they reacted more to their insecurities than to you. And the undecided, the ones who got dragged into the noise, stand at a strange crossroads, wondering how they allowed other people's confusion to replace their own clarity. The wildest part is how everything spiraled without you ever stepping into the chaos. While they were clashing over their theories, you were moving through your life like none of that noise existed in your orbit. The contrast is what unsettled them. They expected you to get pulled into their arguments, to show even a hint that their opinions mattered, but you didn't react. And that quiet detachment is exactly what pushed the whole situation into overdrive. Instead of calming things down, your indifference amplified everything. People started acting like your refusal to engage meant something deeper. They jumped to conclusions. They filled in blanks you never left. They created entire explanations for your attitude because they couldn't accept the possibility that you simply didn't care. And that realization bruised egos harder than any confrontation could have. Your lack of involvement didn't neutralize the conversation. It made their reactions look louder, messier, and more revealing. Suddenly, they weren't discussing you anymore. They were exposing how easily they get rattled, how quickly they attach meaning to nothing, how desperately they want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. You became the mirror, even though you never intended to reflect anything. That's the part none of them admit. The emotional explosion didn't happen because of your actions. It happened because of the vacuum your silence created. People projected whatever made sense to them, and those projections collided with each other until the street felt like an arena built out of misunderstandings. Nothing you did justified that level of obsession. Everything they felt did. Now the way they look at you carries a different weight. There's no hostility anymore, but there's definitely calculation, the kind of careful observation people use when they're trying to understand something they underestimated the first time. You can see it in the way conversations pause when you show up, in the way people track your movements as if they're studying the details they missed while they were too busy arguing. Nobody claims certainty now. Certainty died the moment the truth started surfacing. The people who once spoke the loudest seem the most unsettled. They're trying to piece together how everything spiraled to this point. But the more they replay the events, the clearer it becomes that their reactions were never about you. They were reacting to their own distortions. They created versions of you that never existed, and now they're stuck with the embarrassment of realizing the fight was against their own imagination and you. You're still the same, which makes the whole thing sting even more for them. Nothing about you changed. Nothing about your behavior matched the chaos. You didn't shift your expression. You didn't announce anything. You didn't attempt to alter your path. You walked through the noise with the same composure you had before the first rumor began. And that's what makes the truth undeniable. You weren't the one who got out of control. They were. And that's the part the environment is struggling to process. Every argument, every heated moment, every emotional spike, all of it came from people wrestling with the discomfort you triggered in them. The truth wasn't dangerous. Their reactions were. Now the street feels like it's waking up from a long fever. People aren't sure how to behave anymore. There's this silent tension between wanting to move on and needing to understand what just happened. It's like they're piecing together a documentary in real time, finally seeing how wild their behavior looked from the outside. Some try to act normal again, but normal feels fake now. Some try to step around the topic, but it hangs in the air like unfinished business. Some try to rebuild the relationships that were fractured in the debates, but there's a distant look in their eyes, the kind people get when they realize they exposed too much. Your presence makes them rethink themselves, and they don't know how to reconcile that with the noise they created. The ones who were sure they had you figured out now look at you like you're an unfinished equation, not intimidating, just unclassifiable. They don't know where to put you in their mental charts, and the absence of a category bothers them more than any argument ever did. And the ones who were aggressively against you, they're the quietest now, not out of fear, but because confronting the truth means confronting their ego. And that's a battlefield nobody wants to walk onto voluntarily. If anything, you've forced the entire environment into an uncomfortable kind of growth. They didn't want the lesson, but they can't unlearn it. Your impact didn't motivate them, it exposed them. And exposure is the one thing people can't erase once it's happened. This is the ultimate irony. They fought over you like their opinions were shaping the future, and now they're realizing the only thing their arguments shaped was the transparency of their inner world. And now they're trying to figure out what you actually are. Not the version they invented, but the version you've always been. That's where the real tension sits. Because for the first time, their question isn't spoken with arrogance or heat. It's spoken with genuine confusion, genuine curiosity, genuine humility. It sounds like uncertainty. It sounds like recognition. It sounds like a truth they avoided until it slammed into them. How can someone cause this much reaction without even trying? They don't say it to you directly, but it sits in their expression every time you pass by. They know the argument was never about right or wrong. It was about the part of themselves that woke up when they were forced to acknowledge you. You represent something they don't have a name for, yet a reminder, a shift, a disruption, a spark, a confrontation, something human but unfamiliar, something simple but uncomfortably powerful. And whether they like it or not, the entire street, the entire environment, the entire circle of people involved, they all reached the same internal conclusion. The fight wasn't about politics. It wasn't about beliefs. It wasn't about sides. It wasn't even about you. It was about what your existence dragged out of them, raw, unfiltered, unavoidable. And when people finally understand that truth, they stop looking at you with judgment and start looking with a kind of stunned respect, the kind that says, "Bro, this got out of hand because you're not the type of person we can argue away."